Hello and welcome to the stream. We are back here in our Yellow Pine save overlooking our newly built neighborhood where we left off in the last stream. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to move on from this area for this stream, and we're going to focus on some of the areas around it, mainly this industrial area. We can unpause here real quick, and we can see all of the traffic that is building up because this only has one way in and one way out. But I think we want to focus on getting some different ways of getting in and out of here, maybe laying out this area so that things look a little bit more natural. We have some natural connections, and hopefully we can fix our traffic issues as well as making this area look overall a little bit nicer as well. And then, depending on how much time we have left over, we can start to think about how this area begins to transition from our somewhat more medium, low density area down here to our more suburban spread out area up here. I think figuring out how we can make this look nice and natural would really help to bring the whole area together. So just to recap really quick, sort of the momentum that we had. We built this whole low density area along with this shopping center that seems to be functioning pretty well. It seems like everything's doing just fine here. The parking lots could be a little fuller, but we haven't quite completely built out around this area. And we still have this building complaining about not enough customers. It is getting more than it was at first. It's now getting 23 people per month. But I think this is beginning to do much better. And so anyway, let's get back to this area that we really want to focus on, the industrial area. What we're going to focus on is, I think we're gonna have to demolish all of our special buildings here. So the water treatment plant, the power plants, the recycling center, landfill, all of this is gonna have to go momentarily just so that we can redevelop these roads. Which also means we're probably going to have to pause while doing most of this. So let's just get right ahead and into it. And first we should actually probably de-zone most of what we're seeing here. Seems like most of this was already occupied by special buildings. But we'll just go ahead and make sure everything is de-zoned anyway, so nothing really pops back up later on as we're building. And we are going to want to take note of what we're demolishing, or we could just use move it and just temporarily move these things out of the way. I'm thinking that might be a good way to go about this. That way we don't necessarily lose the functionality. Well, there's not really good spots to just place these. I think we could move them all into this area. And the landfill we might have to delete. And I think I'm okay with that. We have a crematorium here, which I think we can just bulldoze that anyway. Everything else should just be industrial buildings that can go. I think that's a taxi depot. We can, hopefully if we remember, get that placed back in afterwards. Now that all the buildings are gone, we can focus on the road layout. So I think we're just going to delete all of these roads. I think we still might keep this Thornton Street, as that sort of has a natural connection here. But I think the other street that we're going to bring in is this one here. I'm not sure what the name of this is. Suppose we'll find out in a moment. So that's coming through. So that's going to be Holly Street. And I think it'd be interesting if maybe we could start to incorporate some of this area. We could use maybe some of this for the landfill, actually. We can keep it away from a lot of... Probably what we want this to be more industrial. So let's go ahead and purchase this tile. Now that opens us up to here. We can even have an extra connection here with this road. We can maybe get rid of some of this industrial zoning. We could keep the cemetery. This might actually be a nice area to have a cemetery as a buffer between our entry highway and this farm. And then this can bridge over and connect to our landfill and what other, maybe some of our other trash amenities in this area. Anyway, getting back to this area. So we still have our highway coming through. We are going to keep that as that's going to be sort of a local thoroughfare throughout this region. We have it connecting to the highway over here. It connects up close to our shopping center. I think this is going to be a major road that people will use to get across our city. Maybe not to go from region to region, but eventually once we build across the river, this might prove to be a significant connection. So we'll just have to keep that in mind as we do all of this. Now it looks like we did miss one spot of zoning. We'll fix that up. And then we can start to think about our road placement. Now we will bring this across, and we'll leave enough space to have a bit of a buffer between our highway. So this can just be trees and maybe some other things. Even though this butts up really close to the highway, we could maybe get rid of the industrial along this street. It maybe doesn't fit the area, especially with the high school being so close to it. So if you guys have any ideas on what uses could go here, I'm more than happy to hear your suggestions and implement them into this. So if this could be a good commercial strip, or maybe we turn this into a park, if you guys have any good ideas, let me know and we will get that incorporated. But moving on, we have some more road connections to make. And I think we can just keep moving this along like so. We're going to end up with some weird plots, and I think that's okay. We can... What this spacing does is allows us to zone the largest buildings possible, which maybe we want, maybe we don't want. I'm not quite sure yet, but we can always fix that later on. I think this might be the last road we put across this area. So that comes through. I'm not sure if I like how this sort of just caps off. I don't really like leaving these 90-degree turns here. I feel like these should either be smoothed out a little bit more or have something else going on with them. Which actually we could just take this and use this road to help define our perimeter a bit more. That might not be the worst thing. We do something like this. We can bring this road out. And I'm not quite sure what we would do from this point. Try to get a nice even number of zoning tiles in. But maybe we do square it off and we do something like this. Connect these roads up. Seems like that corner is going to be a bit odd. So let's get in here and try to redo this. I think what's going to happen is this comes in at a bit more shallow of an angle. And then we can curve the road in like so. That's a little bit better. I'm still not a huge fan of what's going on with this corner. I think there's something we could do to make this feel more natural. I'm wondering if, well, this would kind of be pointless to have this bridge over the highway and connect in, since we have Crescent Street right here. But I think we can keep this. I think the next area I want to figure out before we finish off this road grid is actually our entrance to our city. This roundabout worked well at first, but I don't think it's quite doing it for us anymore. I think this is way too big of an intersection to justify just a roundabout. And so I think we're going to have to get rid of that and make this intersection a bit more complex with maybe some priority turning lanes and some extra lanes for other areas of movement. And so the first thing I want to do is give this highway a direct right-hand turn lane so that you don't have to queue up at the light to turn right. You can just take your own lane and then merge right onto here, especially since you don't have to stop to get onto this highway. So what we'll do is use this 3-lane highway. We'll flip the direction around. And maybe we actually undo that real quick, because we want this to face the right direction, or we want the center lines to line up. So there we go. We can do that, and then we can take this on-ramp and it will pretty much just split off right here. So this will run out in this direction, and then we can merge into a 5-lane asymmetric highway. We just have to flip that around and then connect this up to that outermost lane. So now these people have an easy way to take a right-hand turn. I'm not a huge fan of what's going on here. And it looks like the road's kind of not liking it either. We might have to use some move it here to fix a few things. Let's maybe see if we can get some of these road markings back. I think that looks a little bit less broken. I think what we want to do is add an intersection here and upgrade this highway back to just a simple 4-lane highway. So now things are nice and clean there, and the merge happens before the turn lanes. So now we have our right-hand turn movement. We might want to extend this road a bit farther. So now it has some proper space to merge. Although now it looks like something else is a little bit broken here. But first we want to turn off left-hand turns and U-turns. So this is going to go away. And that might have actually fixed our issues. So yeah, that fixed our issues. There's even more space for people to merge, take their right-hand turn, come straight through, and then we want to focus on... Well, actually, first let's get all of our lanes here before we start doing anything else. So I think we want... Yeah, I think we want this to be a 5-lane asymmetrical highway, so we end up with 1 lane per movement. So we have the center lane going straight, the right-hand lane turning right, and then the left-hand lane turning left. I believe this covers everything that I wanted to cover. So first we can remove the unsafe turns. That helps just get rid of some of the unnecessary ones that we maybe didn't want to entertain in the first place. Let's start with this road. We want this lane to not be able to turn right, since they're turning right back here. This is okay going straight, and I'm not the biggest fan of this being a left-hand turn lane, but it really doesn't hurt anything for it to do that. The next set of lanes is left-hand turn. We have the middle being a straight through, which is fine. And then the right hand is also a right turn lane and a straight through. I'm not sure if I want this to go straight, but it doesn't hurt, again, to have that, at least at the moment. Welcome to the stream if you're joining. I see, is the game optimized a bit already? I think it's better than it was at release. A lot of things have been cleaned up and certainly optimized. To be honest, I didn't play it much when it released, so I maybe don't have the best gauge of how truly bad it was, especially under heavy loads. But as of now, I haven't had too many issues. I do notice that the simulation begins to get bogged down after a few 100,000 population, but that's really all I've come across so far. But there's always quality of life fixes that can be made. But getting on to this intersection still, I think all the other priorities are correct. I think we can leave this. I think we mainly wanted to fix our connection from Cedar Highway, since that seemed to be what was backing up the most. We added an extra lane for our entry, since this is also getting backed up. And hopefully the fact that this is a light can help with some of the overall flow a little bit better. Now, unfortunately, we can't let this run yet because we have all of our essential services still unconnected. So we're not going to be able to really troubleshoot this at the moment. This will help us, however, determine how close we can get to these roads. And I'm almost wondering if we just do that and this becomes one of our larger services and it sort of takes up this whole lot. I think that would be okay. Although I suppose we still end up with the issue of this being a 90-degree turn. We could probably fix that if we just extended this road and then somehow incorporated that into whatever we end up building here. If not, this can always just become a cul-de-sac for turnarounds. I think that would also work out just fine. So I think this leaves us off with a decent starting point. I think one thing I do want to have is some kind of bridge across here heading up into this area, and we can even connect it farther on down here. That's probably more future planning than it is something that we need right now. But it doesn't hurt to think about where that road connection might come from. So maybe it comes from this road, and that gives us the most opportunity to gain altitude before crossing, since we do want to keep it at a decent slope. And doing it here at this intersection allows us to either go to the right of this hill and cut across and we can enter sort of in this dip, or we can make a sharper turn and more gradually come up the side of this hill and then figure out how we ascend from here. But again, that's just going to be a placeholder for the moment. Everything else I think is okay. So we can now start to think about zoning. And let's get our zoning tiles figured out first. I think we want to, for the sake of maximizing our buildable area, is to eliminate this zoning so that we get nice square grids. And then up here, this is okay. All of this is fine. And I think this is okay over here as well. So now we can focus on bringing everything else back. We wanted our trash to be in this area, so we will leave this recycling center over here. I think we want our power plants to end up in this area. And so let's just hit the relocate, and that'll help us to snap right back onto where we need to be. We're getting an issue with overlapping items. Ah, I see. I think we need to disconnect the wires that are connecting these. I think when we used Move It, that accidentally brought all of this with us. Looks like this is also trying to connect. Maybe we just delete these and place them down. It is just our power, so that can be easily replaced. And we still don't really have the opportunity for anything else. We do have a ton of development points, so we could look into some alternative forms of energy. Maybe gas. We'll unlock a handful of these since we have plenty of development points remaining. Maybe we even go all the way to the coal power plant. Yeah, we can leave it as that. We definitely don't have the space for a solar power plant, so we'll just leave that. So gas is a little bit big for this area. I have a feeling this coal power plant is also going to be too big. So yeah, I think we're just going to be stuck with the small coal power plants for now. I'm wondering if maybe there's other spots we could go, but I think this is just going to have to work. Interesting that we still have issues with this road. Maybe it's because of that power line. Looks like this will work now. We'll just get two of these right next to each other like we did before. Maybe we can look at figuring out how to make this look not as repetitive. If there's a way we could maybe use Move It and blend these together. But we'll think about that after we figure out everything else. I suppose we could also put a larger power plant over here. So I think maybe let's maybe try to do that. Let's just relocate everything else first. So we have our water treatment plant. This can go, I think this could go right here near the highway. I don't think that necessarily is bothered by much. And we also, actually this kind of limits our space. So maybe this can go over here. And then we have all of this space to add these upgrades later on. I think I like that idea. We have our recycling center there. We have our bus depot. And this, I was thinking, could go right here. We have plenty of space to add upgrades and do other stuff. We can get rid of Bellwood Street. Get this placed right about here. And maybe we can relocate these extra garages. Doesn't seem like it's going to really let us do that. So let's just have these attached to the back of the facility. And since it seems like we can't get this put in here anyway, we can replace this road and then relocate this to be a little bit more centered on the space. Maybe that gives us some opportunities for landscaping around it. Just make this area look nicer. I think that covers the immediate things that we had. Hopefully that road connection notification goes away. So let's think about how we begin to connect into this area. So we said previously we could get rid of this zoning. And what this will allow us to do is cut back this road and then bridge over the highway and the rail. Let's see if we can relocate this building real quick. Just until we can do something else. Seems like we don't really have that much free space anywhere. We can throw that all the way out here. And so what we could do is raise this up plus 30 feet. Do something like that. Bring this across like so, and then bring it back down. We have this nice big connection across our highway and our train tracks. I think maybe let's get rid of some of the trees that are encroaching on this bridge a little bit. And now this gives us the opportunity to begin branching out. We have plenty of space for whatever we wanted to put in over here. I think we wanted our landfill somewhere in this area. Maybe what we do is come this way and follow the foot of this hill a little bit more. We might have to rebuild this. But we could do something like that. Maybe the landfill's over here so we can fill in all of this space. Over here could be our recycling center. So we can bring that back over. We can see how big this will be. So this seems like it will take up plenty of space. We can reorient that. I think we're okay. Yeah, these trees are all part of the asset. They're not clipping into the building. And let's get our landfill back in place. I suppose we could do something else and save the space. And maybe this could become some other kind of specialized industry. I think this is... It looks like all groundwater. Maybe we don't want that. I was hoping... Is there anything else? Yeah, there is some coal and ore available in this area, so we get a little bit of that going, and that might actually be good. Yeah, I think let's go for that. We will bring this road around. Do some kind of connection like this. And then this is where we can have our ore building. And we can start to plop this around. We'll bring this up to the base of the hill. We'll sort of follow this one contour line all the way around. We'll try to bring this out as far as we reasonably can. I think we'll have to end it right about here. And we're not going to have it get right up next to the railroad, but it can follow along. And then we can bring that back in. And so it's really not the nicest looking thing. I think we can make it look nice with a bit of special attention to detail. But again, we'll get back to that. I think we just want to get the base set up. But if we take a look here, we have our landfill, which maybe we still can place a landfill. I think ideally, can we get this somewhere in here? It looks like this road curves. Although maybe we just use an incineration plant. That seems a little bit large. So I think actually we might be stuck with the landfill for now, because we don't quite have the space for the massive incineration plant. I think we just need to bring this out a few more tiles. And then this can connect like so. So then our landfill can start here. And we want this to follow the road a bit. And let's just use Anarchy Quick to fill this out the way we want to. And then this will follow along the railroad, connect back. And I think we get a little bit more space than we had previously over here. It's nothing too big, but I think ideally, in the end, our recycling center and other services start to pick up so we don't overfill this. I think we want to get that as snug up to the edge of the building as possible. There we go. Then we can focus on making this look good in a little bit. I believe that covers almost all of our services that we were previously missing. We need to connect this up to water and sewer. That's connected. We had a taxi depot that we need to place back in. So that might just have to go over here. Maybe this gets relocated a bit closer to the edge of this road, and that can help us determine where we end this. So I think we could build this road, cut this back, and then we end up with a nice end to this road. And then I think we're ready to start zoning in industrial. I don't think there was really much more that we wanted to do with all of this. I'm a little bit worried about this road being the only connection to this area, but I think we could add another connection maybe from this road. We could potentially have a level crossing with the tracks and then tunnel through here and come out somewhere in this area. I don't know if we're quite ready to make that connection just yet, but this does let us pretty much just zone all of this in as industrial. And at the moment we're just going to do this as one large swath of industrial. We'll try to break this up with some parking and some other things to make this feel a bit more realistic. But I think for now we're just going to fill this all in and see what we get. And that should help to take care of most of our industrial demands. I believe we can let this run and things won't go crazy. We forgot about power. That's what we wanted to put over here. We wanted power to go over here. So let's get... Can we fit something else here? We can almost fit a gas power plant. I think we're still going to be stuck with our 2 coal power plants. I think maybe given the way that these connections need to be, a recycling center flips over to this side. It actually helps a little bit better with the geography of the area. And then this becomes our 2 power plants. So we can bring this over from here. Have that connect to there. And then we can have this connect over to this one. And now we should be good. We let this play. That satisfies all of that. I think let's just get another crematorium in here before we completely forget about that. I don't think we needed it, but for some reason we're running into issues with hearses, so we definitely need to figure that out. And so it seems like all of this immediately started filling in with industrial. That's good to see. It looks like we are cutting into our demand very heavily. So we'll give this a moment to fill in. Welcome to the stream. If you are just recently tuning in, we are taking a look at this industrial area and potentially trying to optimize our entry into our city here. We've redone this. It was previously a roundabout. We now have traffic lights, which hopefully will ease the amount of traffic that we have coming into the city. I'm not sure if there's too much more we could do with this intersection, but if you guys have any good ideas, I'm more than happy to listen. But I think we're going to have to give this a moment to filter through the backed up traffic that was already sitting here. It seems like more and more is just piling up out here. I'm beginning to wonder if maybe having this highway and our sort of entry highway meet is maybe not the best idea, but we'll see how this tackles this backlog of traffic and if anything needs to change. I think we're having an influx of everything with industry right now. We previously had issues. Seems like we have issues with power. I'm wondering what's going on here. So it seems like we have a bottleneck happening, so I think we just need a transformer station right around here, and then simple connection like so. And that seems to have fixed that pretty easily. Yeah, it seems like everything is functioning well there. So most of this industrial is in now. We can see all of our taxis got deployed. So those are going to all spread back out. And it looks like this intersection is becoming more clear. We might have to wait until a rush hour comes through. I don't know if this game simulates rush hour traffic or not. I think it kind of does. But we'll see how it handles this a little bit later on. But I think this whole area has come in quite nicely. I think we can start to break this up to help it feel more natural. Since I don't think you would have all these industrial buildings immediately side by side with each other, we don't really have any special or unique buildings that we could place here. We do have this fuel plant, which could be interesting to put in here. Unfortunately, we don't quite have the space anywhere, so if we wanted to put this in, we'd have to disrupt this grid in one way or another. And it looks like for all these other ones, we just need more industrial. Pretty much everywhere. We need more of the specialized industry. So I think we'll just leave this for now. But we can split this up with some parking. We have these large parking lots we can plop down. Maybe even these extra large ones, but that might be a bit too much. I think ideally if we can get one that can kind of split the area nicely. Seems like this solar parking lot might be the only one that kind of does what we want. I think that's okay, that works. Not too sure what else you would expect to see in an industrial area like this. I suppose we could just remove some zoning in some areas, give these buildings a little bit of space to breathe. But, I mean, again, let me know what you guys think if maybe we somehow thin these buildings out a little bit. We could try it out here and there. Maybe delete all this and see what comes back in. We might get something interesting. We could use parking streets. A lot of these would probably need a decent amount of parking. So we can look at these parking lot alleys. I think this almost gets the idea across, but maybe not right here. You know what, I think maybe this could be a good parking area. Right across the street from the bus depot. We were to maybe do that. Or what does it look like with sidewalks? I'm almost more partial to the alleyway without sidewalks. Let's try this. Let's actually try to make this look good. Let's de-zone this whole lot. And so I think what we would see is centered on this location. Not sure if that's centered. 96 yards, 96 yards. So yeah, this is centered. There'd probably be some sort of road like this and like this. And then this is what would connect everything. And we could leave it off like this, clean up the edges. Maybe even, what would this look like? That actually doesn't look bad. Let's try to fit that back in. That wasn't perfect. There we go. And then I think we even get one more connection to this road, just to allow that pedestrian traffic through either side. And then we can focus on making this area look good. So let's start with our grass surface. So we can do that, and then we can start to think about, let's start from the edge and work our way in. So we have fences. I think maybe we'd probably see a fence around here. I'm not sure if it would be as rough as this industrial fence, but maybe it is. This is still technically an industrial parking lot, so let's get this placed around. Continue to bring this around like so. And then we just end off right back where we started. I'm not sure, I don't think these fences have different colors. I don't think we can even select them. So we might have to leave it how it is. I'm not sure if these are different colors or not. I have a feeling this one might be a lighter color, and that's gonna bug me. So let's replace this and see if we can get... Can't tell. That seems like a better match. So we'll keep this. We can put some plants in here. I feel like what we might see is like some wild bushes scattered around this perimeter edge. You kind of feel that growth right up to the edge of the fence here. And then maybe it's a bit more calm with plantings closer to the actual parking area. Then we'll get the slightly larger other bush placed in. Suppose we could use a brush. We can lower this down a lot. And then we just bring this through here. That seems to have done okay. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. And then I think we just need to manually plop in a few trees here and there. Give it a bit of height and overgrowth. So I believe that's all the way around with those trees. Let's maybe plop in an oak tree every here and there. These get really large, so we don't want to overdo it with how many we're placing. This will definitely help with some variation in how dense it is, and especially height. I think that might do it. That does it for our outer layer of plantings. We can now focus closer into here. And maybe this is these flower bushes. These can get pretty spaced out. I don't think that'll be much of an issue. And then what we'll do is put some trees right down the middle to provide some shade. I think these we will space out a bit farther. And maybe something like that. There we go. So we have a parking area in our new industrial zone. I think I kind of like giving it a little bit of space. I think maybe we overdid it just a bit here. But I do think maybe an empty strip of zoning here and there to help simulate maybe some vacant lots wouldn't hurt. Let's just go through and add that in a few spots. Let's maybe just give this whole lot here a little bit of a test run with that. We can also do the same here. And even though it's not quite as optimized space-wise, I think that helps give us a bit more of a realistic feel than the wall-to-wall industrial zones that we are seeing in this area. And while we're waiting for this to fill in, I do think this has helped immensely with traffic. Our Cedar Highway isn't backing up at all. Our main entry to the city isn't backing up at all. It seems like traffic elsewhere is doing okay. I think we can click this and even get a view of traffic flow. So we can see here, we read this. Lowered flow percentages indicate that vehicles are forced to drive slower than the indicated speed limit. This can eventually lead to traffic jams. So yeah, we can see we are just about to reach the sort of peak hour of use, which seems to be at hour 18. We are at 17:30. So I think if we just wait a moment and take a look at this intersection as we go through the next couple of minutes of in-game time, we can see how it sort of handles the busiest part of the day. And as of so far, it seems to be going well. We're having a little bit of trouble of cars turning from Cedar Highway into our industrial area, but I think that is okay. And I'm really not seeing an influx of traffic, despite what the street said. So maybe we just haven't gone through a whole day to see how it goes. It might still be adjusting. We can take a look at some of our other roads. Although Eastgate Street, which is our main road, has some traffic issues elsewhere that we'll need to potentially take care of. And we are starting to see some noise pollution popping up for some of these houses. So I think this industrial is going to have to go. We did have this nice small park here, but this could easily be replaced with something else. Maybe these turn into offices. We can expand our sort of office park area in through this area. I think that might actually be a really good move. It can help get some industrial traffic out of this residential area, get rid of this noise pollution warning, and I think overall help clean up this area. So I think leaving some space here between our buildings is looking pretty good. It doesn't look terrible. I think maybe there's some things we can do on these empty lots to help it feel more industrial. I'm not quite sure what that is at the moment, but I think I do like this slightly more spaced out look than the very densely packed industry that we're getting here. So let's continue this idea of just removing some zoning occasionally. We'll just do that. I think this area back here is fine. These actually seem to be warehouse buildings, which I think I'm okay with these being more side by side. And we even could with our more zoning industries. I forget the name of the mod, but we can specify between warehouse buildings and manufacturing buildings. So that's helpful. So if we did want this to be purely storage along the outside edge, we could do that. I forgot we have our stone industry here. We can see how that's doing. Seems like it's making money. It's extracting. And I think there's ways to make this look nice. I don't think we're going to get into that right now. We just have too many other things that we need to focus on first. But I did just want to get this in so we can have a bit more varied industry specializations going on in this city. So I think this has all come along pretty well. We can now start to see our traffic issues slightly building up here on Cedar Highway. So most of it does seem to be maybe left turns on the Crescent Street, which is a bit unfortunate. One thing we could do is limit left turns. We could just turn the left turns off. I'm not sure if we want to do that just yet. I mean, it really isn't that bad, it seems, at the moment, but it's certainly not the best to have traffic building up right here. But let's just move on from that for now. We will get back to that. But I think like we said earlier, let's go ahead and remove this industry. So all of this industrial goes. I don't think we'd want this much industrial right next to our schools anyway. We can come back through with just some low density offices and just get those to fill in here. And that gives us the opportunity to extend this road. I'm not sure what we do. We can make a real mess of an intersection. Or maybe a roundabout. Not quite sure what we want to go with here. Let's maybe give it a roundabout and see how awful this looks when we connect. Yeah, I don't think a roundabout's the way to go there. Or it could be, but not with this road connecting. This road could also just be a cul-de-sac road. Doesn't necessarily need to be anything special. It can just be a dead end, and we can put some extra offices along here. So we could do this, see what fills in. I think it's going to take some work to make this look good. This is the default office, and I'm maybe not opposed as to how that looks. Maybe we do that along here with the backside facing our highway. I think we do get rid of that roundabout though. That just wasn't doing anything for us. This can all be, I guess we'll go with 4 tile deep zoning so that we get a little bit of something here. And it seems like we've already burned through all of our office demand. And we do have some more industrial demand, which we might just throw in some over here. Help fill out these lots, provide a little bit of extra movement and energy in this area. In fact, we could maybe theme this all around this mine. So we can have some ore themed. We get rid of all of this zoning. We can have all this be manufacturing for it. So we could do something like this. Let that fill in. It's not much, but it is something. And eventually this will expand even further. But I think we've done really well fixing this traffic area. Let's see if we can maybe try our hand at some of the other trouble areas around our city for traffic. So right now, we don't really have anything. I don't think right now is a busy hour of the day, but I know for a fact that we most definitely get some traffic on Coleridge Street coming into Eastgate, and it's almost a little hard to diagnose what the issue is without seeing it. It seems like this road might be a bit of an issue. I can see we only get so many cars building up here before cars start turning or wanting to turn. So yeah, now we're starting to see it build up here. I think the issue or the solution might just be placing in some asymmetric roads. So if we turn this into an asymmetric road, we turn that into an asymmetric road, does that help? We'll have to see. We might as well turn this into an asymmetric road just so it's consistent. See if that helps at all. And here we can maybe do the same with these streets. We can have that be asymmetric. We could do the same here. I don't think we want to pull that all the way back here for this. Maybe just having these two lanes might be enough. I'm almost wondering if in this instance we want to have a right turn only lane, since it seems like not many people are queuing up to turn left. Although not many people are really going right either. I think either way, something needs to change with this intersection for it to work. I think we need that to go away. So this is left turn only, or straight and right. Let's just go ahead and remove everything unsafe. And then I think we do the same thing here. We'll turn off left turns, and you can only go straight or right here. Actually, I forget what we said. I think actually we want this to be a right turn only lane, and we want this to do that. So let's see how that begins to handle some of this. Again, a solution could just be as simple as better public transportation, but I do think some of our roads have been pretty bad. Yeah, like here, this is getting bad. And if we find out why, it is this road here. So it's actually this parking road that's blocking this street, which is causing a whole bunch of other backup. I'm thinking, can this turn into a one-way, and can it face the opposite direction? So let's see how that works. This way we don't have cars crossing a lane to queue when they leave, since they'll most likely be trying to get to Eastgate Street. They'll be turning right out of this one-way, which means they don't block the opposite lane of traffic. So let's see if that helps. It seems like this is maybe starting to clear up a bit. We do just get a lot of traffic on Eastgate Street. There could almost be an argument to make this a 6-lane road, but I really don't think that's what we want. And I don't think I really like the parking on this road. Can we... Yeah, if we add grass to this road, we get rid of the parking. That'll help us with identifying where some of our issues are coming in. We can follow the traffic a bit easier. So I think we just continue this all the way down. And yeah, now here's where we start to run into issues. We're just gonna have to force this in here. Alright, so now that's in. We can take a look. This intersection is okay. This intersection's doing okay. There's a bit of traffic here, but this might still be clearing up from our adjustments with our parking lot roads. So here's another area where we see some issues of people just queuing. And I wonder if maybe this is potentially a speed limit thing, although these are 10-mile-an-hour roads. We could lower this down to 5 and maybe try to really cut down on the through traffic. Because I'm not sure why so many cars are just trying to go straight down this road when they could easily get onto Wood Street or somewhere else. I suppose an easy way to stop this from happening is to actually push everyone onto this street, so that's really inconvenient to just cut through this alleyway. So that might help limit people cutting through these roads, except for people who really only need to park here. And here we can see traffic building up on Cornflower Street. I don't think this is... yeah, this isn't a street that we've touched. But I don't think it's too crazy to just do what we've been doing with the 3-lane asymmetric roads. We can do something like that. And is this road... yeah, this road is adjusted. We'll bring that down to 5 miles an hour as well. Make that as inconvenient as possible. And now I think it's just a bit of a waiting game, seeing if all of this clears itself up after all these changes. It might not. There's really no easy way to tell. Yeah, I think a lot of this traffic might have just been cars that were pushed around from our changes. So we'll have to give it a moment to adjust. And again, here's another issue. I just don't know why cars are choosing to queue onto this alleyway. They have faster roads around them. Granted, this road's a little bit backed up. But I'm just not sure why they would prefer to do this. I suppose it's less intersections. So maybe this has to become a one-way. And we just kind of have to force people to... they can only leave on this road. That might be how we have to treat this as well. And yeah, we're back to having a huge backup at our entry. So it seems like a lot of our traffic issues are coming back. So following it, it seems like this truck is just not moving, which is causing Elm Street to back up, or Eastgate Street to back up, which is then causing a whole bunch of issues elsewhere. So there's also issues like that where I'm just like, I don't know Maybe it was waiting to turn left, and we actually just created a giant gridlock. I suppose that could have been what was happening as well. Yeah, this has me a little bit stumped with a clean solution given to what we currently have. We could start to play with some one-way streets, but I don't really know much about organization for that type of stuff. So maybe we don't touch that for now. We do have other entries into the city, but this one here seems to get used the most, which does make sense. It's closest to the center of our town, but I'm surprised that this entry isn't getting more use. I suppose it makes it really inconvenient to get off on this side and then sort of drive around. So there's that possibility. It is interesting trying to deal with this. Because this is just backing up way too much for what we would ideally want to see. I suppose what we could do is turn this into a 3-lane highway all the way back to here. So some of our industrial trucks that are just trying to get out of the city have a direct route out of here. So we could do that. That might help. That also just gives our queuing lanes a bit more room. And I think unfortunately we're reaching the end of this traffic jam, so, or the rush hour. We're not really going to be able to get a good idea of how those changes helped, if they helped at all. But again, I think some of it just might be a public transportation issue. We have this whole area here that does not have bus stops at all yet. Nothing over here has bus stops. So it could just be as simple as an accessibility issue. So let's start maybe placing around some public transportation connections. We'll get some taxi stops in. I think we get one in there. Maybe we get one in somewhere closer to here as well. Then let's focus on our bus stops. So we have one coming across Elm Street, and we actually have it turn up Eastgate Street at the moment, but I think we want it to run all the way along Elm Street, and then we maybe have another route that purely runs up and down Eastgate Street. So what that would mean is we're probably going to have to use Anarchy because we have a lot of custom things in this area. I think what we'll do is have a bus stop here, have a bus stop here, because we're going to have a connection. We'll probably just reuse this. We'll get some more stops in around. And we'll have the bus stop here. We'll have it turn around and loop through this area. Yeah, I think we can do that. And so let's get to our bus lines. We want this one here. And we want to Actually, we want to edit this, so we'll remove that stop. We have to find the other stops along here. So there we go. We'll have it stop there. Actually, we have to drag this. We'll continue extending this bus line. It wants to come up and around. And then we want it to connect to these last few stops this way. So now we have a handful of bus stops on Elm Street. That should hopefully help out greatly. I'm hoping, at least. So now we have some connections here. We even kind of have a connection to the shopping center, which should help alleviate some of the commercial pressure that this was building up as being one of the only commercial areas in the city. So next, I think we want to address Eastgate Street. We already have a few stops along the way. I think we want a stop here to connect with that other line. We have one stop here. I think we could just do this. And that might be okay. Then it just returns. Really not that long of a route, or even that great. I'm wondering if we divert this either through this residential suburb area or into the industrial area. I think we could really do either one. Though maybe I'm more inclined... Maybe we do bring it in here. Just so that we have... there's a lot of jobs in here. This might help alleviate a little bit of the usage that we would see coming in and maybe relieve some of the pressure we were seeing on Cedar Highway. And then also maybe to prevent some unnecessary left turns on our highway, can we just add a waypoint? Yeah, so we can just have a waypoint, force it to go up this way, and that could work. So now we have a second bus route. And let's change the color of that. This is going to be a dark green color. And we'll want to adjust this. I think we're going with $5 ticket price. I think we'll do 4 buses. We can take a look here at some of our stops. Seems like these are okay. A lot of our buses have a decent amount of people on them. It seems like the ones in our shopping area currently don't have that many people waiting, but maybe these are full of people trying to get there. We'll see. And we also have a ton of people waiting here in our low rent area and this shopping area. So that's good to see. Seems like this is going to get a lot of use. We can see here traffic building up on Cornflower Street once again. Let's see if we can try to diagnose this time. And it seems like it's just a lot of people trying to use this road to go straight across. So I'm wondering if this turns into a right-hand only lane, and this turns into straight or left. I think we could try that and see if that helps at all. This also has a left turn lane. We don't want that. We want to remove that. So we only have a right turn only. The left-hand lane is left turn or straight. We'll see if that shuffles the traffic a little bit better. I think we'll do the same. We'll remove the left turn. Yeah, it looks like that's causing a little bit of traffic as well. This left turn. We'll keep the left turn only lane because it does seem to have some demand. But that might help. But back to our buses. We can see our usage is already going up. We've increased it by almost 200 or 2,000 people a month. I think there are plenty more we could do with our lines. So I think this red line and yellow line are going to have to go. We're going to rework this entirely. And what does this purple line do? This purple line sort of goes from shopping center to shopping center. So it stops there. Is it? I think it's also using this stop. So I think I'm okay with what this purple line is doing. I think maybe the only thing I would change is we actually add a bus stop in this area. And then we have this connect like so. So we have all these stops along here, which I think works okay. If we take a look at this line, it's getting plenty of use. And so now, I think we just have to put a line on, I forget which street this was, but I think if we put a line on this street that loops around here and comes back, which we already sort of set up. We have stops here, we have stops here. I think we just need more. Maybe we do stops here. We have one here, and then we can reuse this stop and turn around there. And I'm wondering if we could probably use... We can have this stop right in front of the high school, and then I can just turn around in the high school complex area. We'll grab our bus line tool, bring this around, and connect all this up. And actually, I think we get another bus stop here. I think that just undid our whole line, but we'll get these connections back in. We loop around, come back, and make that connection. So we'll have to see how that works out. We'll change the color and the price as usual. Ticket price down to 5. We'll bring our vehicles up to 8. And then we need one that... I guess we could maybe have it run along Eastgate Street. And then it can turn down... We already come across Coleridge Street. I think we need something that runs down Alyssa Street and helps connect this area a bit more. Let's get rid of some of these stops. Just some of the stops that we aren't using, so we can clearly understand where we do and don't have coverages at the moment. And then we need to get rid of these. I think that was the last of our unused bus stops. We can come back here. We'll have a bus stop in this industrial area. We'll have a bus come... I want one in this neighborhood, but I don't want it to be in the streets. I think maybe we come all the way around to here. And so we have sort of another connection to this shopping area. And then the bus stop for this neighborhood could be right here. And also right here at this corner. Then from this point we can keep going. We get another one at that corner. And then I think the tricky part for us right now is deciding if we want to turn south, which I think we do. I think we want to make this connection, and then this is where we will connect to Alyssa Street. So the bus is going to do some weird turns, but it's going to make a much needed connection. We'll have a stop here. We can reuse this stop. We can have it come to this street and then make its way back. Maybe it stops here and then it can come up into this industrial area, stop at this bus stop. And then I think it just comes back through and finishes this all out. So this seems a bit more complex. Hopefully it works. This line I'm not too sure on, but I think it hits a lot of the areas that we weren't previously getting with some of our other lines. I'm hopeful that this can alleviate some of our traffic troubles. We just have to bring this around and finish the loop. Then we just need to change the color of these. I think we'll go back to red. And then we also have yellow that we had before. Switch this up. I think we'll go 12 buses. I don't think we need to do anything too crazy. Let's make sure we have the buses for this. It seems like we are currently using them all. I don't think we... there might be an easy way if we do some of the math here. Although this might just add up. Yeah, we're definitely not... We don't have enough buses. So let's just add a few more bus connections. We can also electrify the whole thing. I don't know if that's really what we wanted, but it's what we did. So we should have plenty of buses now. We have 55, we are using 41. There's going to be a lot of buses coming in and out of here. Maybe we get another bus depot out maybe over here. And it can just sort of be temporary at the moment. That seems a little bit crazy, but maybe we'll just do that. So now we just kind of have to wait and see what happens traffic-wise. Although it does seem like our numbers are doing much better already. We're up to 14,000 people a month, and some of our lines still haven't probably even had a full loop through yet. So I'm kind of interested in seeing how this begins to stack up. Again, I'm not sure if we would do subway in a town like this. It just seems maybe a little bit small. We could potentially do tram. We could do a tram line on Elm Street. I think that could be potentially useful. I think maybe this, what we're currently calling Willow Acres, might just need redeveloped. This was basically our first area just to start the town, and I don't think this is really what this town needs at the moment. I think what we need is to extend these grids across to have a bit more structure, and then maybe we could do something like this as we stretch across the water this way. I think that would also help out with structuring our bus lines a little bit better. We get some better cross connections so we're not funneling cars onto certain streets, because that could also be where some of our traffic issues are coming from. This Coleridge Street is really the only way to get to this area, because if you come across Briar Rose Street, you just get funneled up to Eastgate Street, and if you cross any lower, you have to go north anyway. So I think that might be where at least these traffic problems are coming from. So we'll have to see with our buses if this really helps anything at all. But it seems like there could be something there. A lot of our buses are here. They're probably just trying to get spread out on the route. But these are also very short segments of road. You can see we can only really have 6 cars queuing at a time. As much as I like the parking alley behind these row homes, they just might have to go. And in fact, we could probably zone another tile to help this feel a bit more built in. So let's find our North American medium density row housing. And it looks like we accidentally allowed zoning on that street. And we could probably demolish a few of these. Get some varied lot depths. I think these might have actually been the southwest row housing, so let's actually delete those, build this back in. I don't know if it has 4 deep units. Yeah, it looks like the deepest it goes is 3, but I think that's okay. We can keep this as it is. I think other than that, I'm really happy with how this has come out today. Mainly this industrial area. It doesn't look like much, and in fact we could probably fill it back in with a little bit. I think like this lot is maybe just a bit too large. I think this helps to make it feel natural. I think there's something we could do with the surfaces. Maybe it's just having a giant asphalt surface under all this so that it feels used. I don't think you'd usually just see empty grass next to an industrial building. It either get used for storage or something else along those lines. I think in a perfect world we start to place down some of these unique industrial buildings. Maybe we get like 1 in here. And we could with this fuel plant. So maybe we actually do that in the next stream, just to help break this up a bit. But I'm still really happy with how this came out. We have this parking lot, which, even though it's not quite getting that much use, I think if we turned off street parking and induced a bit more demand in the area, we could probably see a couple more cars coming into here. Maybe this unusual lot turns into a park, and that's sort of an area for the workers to come during their lunch break, or maybe it's just an easy area to come and hang out from this neighborhood. I'm not sure. There's plenty of things that we could do with an area like this. But I think that's really going to be all that we do building-wise. Let's take a look. Yeah, it looks like our buses are down to 13,000 people a month. It looks like this bus line is hardly getting used, which is interesting. I would have thought that at least someone would be going this direction, but then again, it really only cuts through residential areas and doesn't really connect to commercial or industrial areas. So maybe we have to take a look at this and reconsider what exactly we're connecting with these lines. Because again, I mean, I think the goal was to have a direct connection to the high school here, but it just seems like we're not getting that use. And we can look at our other lines, and they're all getting at least... Well, our bus line 5 is getting 50% usage. And maybe this just isn't a busy time of the day. We don't have these traffic... we don't have any traffic things popping up. Although, interestingly enough, we have some traffic here leaving the city. I don't think I've ever seen traffic pile up over here. Maybe this has to be 2 lanes and we switch to 3. I think maybe for now, let's just try to help this through. Yeah, I think this has clearance too low because we used move it. So I think it's okay if we just do that anyway. And then we keep this going. And then this becomes 5 lanes? Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of what we're doing to this, but and then this slowly starts to narrow down. Something like that would probably work. At least at the moment, until we can more closely take a look at what's going on. Yeah, we might be in a bit busier time of the day. Seems like these lines are still not great. Our bus line 2 is still hardly getting any use. But I think maybe let's drop down our assigned vehicles, because at this point they are just turning into traffic, moving 0 people. Our yellow line isn't doing great, but we also have a lot of buses on that line. Maybe this goes down to 10. That'll help our line usage. So yeah, we'll lower that down. And then I think the other lines are okay. These are sitting at between 20 to 50%. I think those are okay. It's a nice balance between frequency. It seems like all of these are about half full. I think this line could maybe be optimized a bit more with its routing through here, but for now I think it's okay. And then I want to take a look at our bus line 1, which is our line running across Elm Street. And we do have a lot of people waiting. Where is it? They're waiting here and here. But we have a ton of buses coming. I'm not sure why these aren't more spread out. Yeah, here we go. We have traffic again. So I think that's going to be one of the main things we tackle in the next stream. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with the changes we made. I think the next stream we're going to focus on redeveloping Willow Acres here, and then seeing if that helps our traffic. If it doesn't, I'm not too sure what we'll have to do. We might have to do some more drastic measures of fixing our road hierarchy altogether, but that's something to look forward to. Thank you for sticking around if you were tuned into the stream. It's always fun playing with you guys, even if you are just watching. Tune in Wednesdays at 7:30 for more of these streams, or check in on the weekends when sometimes we do some extra streams. But with that, thank you guys for watching, and have a good night.